Hey everybody, this is Brenda Devine from Purpose 8 Institute, and you're listening to my podcast, Living a Life of Purpose, where we discuss the importance of purpose in our everyday lives. Discovering and living out your purpose keeps you focused on God's purpose. That is sharing the good news of salvation with others. This podcast is for people like me, still searching for the answers to who am I and why am I here? You and I were designed and created by God for purpose, and we have much to do. You can listen and subscribe to my podcast, Living a Life of Purpose with Brenda Devine on Anchor and all other podcast platforms. Hey, this is Brenda Devine from Purpose 8 Institute. Hey, I just want to say thank you for joining me for another episode of my podcast, Living a Life of Purpose. So today's topic is your purpose is your purpose. So sharing with you about my project, Corner Store, which is a rehab of a small scale spa mixed-use building in Northwest Goldberg of Detroit. And it is a 100-year-old plus building that I am rehabbing to develop as retail on the first floor and a residential unit on the second floor. And I have been working on this project, but I didn't have the name Corner Store. I was working on a building that I wanted to purchase in Allen Park. And that's really how I put together the model, the details of the model, because I spent so much time analyzing that project and going through a lot of the details of rehabbing that building. That was about 3,000 square feet. And I remember I put together this little proposal because I was going to do the building as like a co-working space with some space for not-for-profits. And I had put together a little pitch deck, and I had put together a presentation, a digital presentation that I could, a real simple one-pager. And I was really proud of it. And I was like, this is going to happen. And during that process, I remember going to church and showing my pastor. And I expected him to be excited and like jump up and say, oh, I'm going to help you with this. And it didn't happen. And I was a little disappointed. And I remember sharing it with a few close friends and thinking in real estate and thinking they were going to say, oh, I'm going to help you with it. And they didn't. And then I shared it with some spiritual girlfriends. And I thought I was going to hear them say, oh, I'm going to help you with it. And I was a little disappointed. And then I came to the realization that my purpose is my purpose. It is for me to do. Doesn't mean that people aren't going to help, but it is for me to do the work on. It's for me to put the hours in. It's for me to promote it. It's for me to tell the story about what my purpose is, what my project is. And I remember a lady at church, and she wanted to do a project at the church. And I don't know, definitely don't know the details, but essentially she wasn't able to do it. And I think that had something to do with her leaving the church. And I remembered that when I was thinking about my own project in Allen Park. And I remember it now when I think about Corner Store. My project is my project. Anyone who's done a project, whether it's commercial real estate, whether it's writing a book, whether it's designing a clothing line, whether it is building a business, a ministry, a small business, a shop, it's your project. You want people to come and help you. You want people to be excited about it, but they're not obligated to. It's your project. It's your purpose. And what happens is when you are working on your project for God, when you know it's about purpose, you're going to be challenged on a whole bunch of things. And those challenges, whether you overcome those challenges or whether you don't, they're lessons of obedience, of whether you're going to do what God has called you to do, or you're going to stop and say, I'm out of here. I can't do this. I don't have the capabilities. I've never done this before. Your purpose, your project is not about you being comfortable. It's not about people all coming around you to cheer you on. Your purpose is about what God has given you to do. And what I found out in my own journey is that I was uncomfortable on everything that He asked me to do. But in everything, He already gave me what I needed to do it. The ability, the capacity, the intellect, the creativity. I didn't know a whole lot, but He gave me enough for me to learn it, to do it, to ask questions, to read, to study about it, to find and research out people or companies that could give me more information. So when you are living a life of purpose, and God has given you something to do, nobody's going to rally around you and help you. It is about you and your purpose, and for you to learn who you are and what your capacity is and what you are to do to serve God for His purpose and His glory. So Corner Store is not about me. Your project is not about you. Our lives are for His service, for God's purpose. That's it. So what you have to do, what He gives you to do, you can do it. You may wish that you had people to help you, answer emails, go drop stuff off, go talk to a contractor, go whatever. You might want those kind of things, but it's your purpose. Those people they got their own stuff to do. They got their own purpose. Or maybe they haven't discovered their purpose, but they're not responsible for your purpose. You are. You have 1,000,000 opportunities to tell God no. And you have 1,000,000 opportunities to tell God yes. And each day is going to be different. But you keep plugging along. You keep going along. You keep walking. You keep being obedient. You keep doing what God has asked you to do. And you walk in your purpose. Irregardless if anybody calls you, anybody helps you, irregardless. I'm going to say in my own journey with Corner Store, I did a crowdfunding for my project. And I made the assumption that the people that I helped in my career would help me with purpose with my corner store. I made that assumption that they would help me. And what I come to find out, that for people that I considered friends for a long time didn't respond to an email, didn't respond to a call, didn't respond to a text. This blew me off. Now, mind you, They were knocking on my doors like crazy, and I answered. And then I had to think about it. Just because I help them, I shouldn't feel inclined that they should help me, because this is my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to do. They're not required to help me with my purpose. It would be nice. It would be nice if they helped me with the corner store. It would have been nice if they contributed some type of help to corner store, but they're not required to. I'm required to live out my purpose. But what I found out is, after I dropped that whole mindset of who was supposed to help me, oh my gosh, I had people helping me from all over the country. I had people helping me that I didn't know. I had people who had read about corner store, had heard about corner store, and they were willing to help me. Out of people that I didn't even know, they contributed to the crowdfunding. They believed in the corner store story. They believed in my purpose, and they contributed. Now, whether they contributed money, some of them contributed money, some of them contributed their time, some of them contributed their connections, some of them contributed encouragement, some of them contributed testimonials. Someone just pointed me in the right direction. All that when I dropped the mindset of somebody is supposed to help me with my purpose. Nobody is supposed to help you with your purpose. It is you that is to do your purpose. When you meet your maker, it's not going to be a whole gang of people with you. It's just going to be you. And you have to answer to whether you were obedient or not in living out your life of purpose. You might fall off and you might get back up. And when you fall off, you can get back up. It's better to be consistent, but you can get back up, because honestly, it's a scary thing thinking about answering God's call. And He's told you, He's prompted you that He wants you to do something. And it's going to be something that you have never done before, and you are uncomfortable, and you're like, how am I going to do this? Are you sure, God, that's what you want me to do? Because I was thinking I was going to do something else. So with the corner store, it is rehabbing a small mixed use into a grocery store. I ain't never thought about no grocery store. I never thought about no grocery store. But it's bigger than a grocery store. It's just a building, but the story behind it is serving a neighborhood. The story behind it is serving people. The story behind it is bringing good news. That's what the story is. That's what the purpose is. That's what we are to do, to be servants and disciples of Christ. So I never even thought about a grocery store. Never, ever been interested in it. And over the past year, I've learned more about food and politics and finance and investments, and you wouldn't even think that all of that went into a small store. But it does. There's a lot of stories behind the corner store that go beyond it just being a neighborhood marketplace. So when God gives us something to do, we may think it's one thing because our imagination is limited. And it may turn out to be something totally different and way more than you ever imagined. And as you get into it, and as I got into it, and I learned more and more about the building, the neighborhood, the history, I'm like, oh my God. How am I here? How am I here? I'm an introvert that doesn't like to talk to people. I like to be in the back office working. I don't like to be in the front. But now, I gotta be up front. I gotta be in places that I'm not typically in. I have to be out talking to people. I have to communicate with people that I would have never communicated with before because I was in my own other box. But this is a new thing. This is a new season. This is a new place. This is a Canaan. So I can't act like I did before in the dry place. But this is what I learned in the dry place. As hard as it was and as funky as it was, I learned to handle difficult situations. I learned to analyze data, information, process it. I learned to sort information and come up with solutions. I learned to humble myself and learn how to talk to people that I wouldn't usually want to talk to or needed to talk to. I learned to be a better person. I learned to be humble. I learned to be a human. I learned to acknowledge God. I learned to humble myself to God and to humble myself to people. I learned that Brenda is no better, no worse than anybody else. I learned to accommodate myself to situations and conditions that I did not want to be bothered with. I learned a lot in the dry place. And those are the things that I needed to use, that I need to use in my Canaan. Those are the skills that I bring with me now with a corner store. Those are the things I would have never ever thought that I would do. But God strengthened me. And in that dry place, He taught me many lessons and gave me many skills and resources to use, not just in the dry place, but in my Canaan, in my breakthrough, in my next. So your purpose is about you. It's not about somebody coming and pushing some buttons and making it easy for you. I'm going to say through my experience so far with the corner store, I have been aggravated to beyond measure with just the whole lending process of trying to access capital. But I'm resilient. People keep telling me, well, you're just resilient. I'm like, I've always had to be resilient. That's in me. That fighter in me, that I'm going to hear a no, but I know those no's are soon going to turn into a yes. So I can't just fall off. You can't just fall off when you hear a no, when you're uncomfortable, when you got to deal with somebody you don't want to. Guess what? You need all that. You need all that for your Canaan. So your purpose is for you to complete. It's not for anybody else. We got this immediate gratification, press a button type of thing mentality. Okay, I could have got the store 3 years ago when I had my mindset and my heart on that building in Allen Park. That could have been my corner store But guess what? I wasn't prepared for it. I was down with the numbers. I was down with the analysis. I was down with all that. I had planned out what we're going to do, the programming, parking, I had communicated, got approved through the city, all that stuff. I was ready to go. God said, nope, you're not going to get that money for that building because that's not where I want you to be. But this is how I'm going to prepare you for the next, for your Canaan. So I had to do the work. Because if I had got it and I wasn't prepared, I would have lost it. So while you are here, don't be so anxious to jump and say, oh, well, nobody's helping me, so this must not be what God wants me to do. And nobody's obligated to help you. But what you are obligated to is to be obedient. You know you heard God talking to you. You know you heard him prompting you. It's been on your mind over and over. It's been in your heart over and over. And when you're working on your project, when I'm working on my corner store, I know this is what God wants me to do. Would I have chosen it? No. But this is what God wants me to do. So if this is what God wants me to do, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. Because I'm going to be obedient. And no matter how long, I know he's going to provide for it. That he's going to make a way for it. So I just have to walk. And you're going to walk alone. I got a lot of friends. I got a lot of people that help me. But essentially, it's all down to me being obedient and doing what God has said. And it's all down with you being obedient and doing what God has said. That's it. If it's not this, it would be something else. So you have to align yourself to your purpose. Strengthen yourself. Study the Bible for the things that you need, like I am studying for what I need while I'm in Canaan, doing God's purpose, because your purpose is just for you. I pray that people will come to help you, to be a servant, to be a resource, to be an opportunity, and that you do the same for others. But when you get down to it, your purpose is your purpose, and it is for you to do according to God's will and his purpose, not your ideas and not your fears and not your purpose, but God's purpose for his glory to be seen and for others to see it and want the same good news and gift of salvation for themselves. So, this is Brenda Devine from Purpose 8 Institute and Corner Store, and I'm going to talk to you later. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on my podcast, Living a Life of Purpose, on Anchor and all other major podcast platforms. To learn more about Purpose 8 Institute and our ministry of sharing the importance of purpose, please visit our website, www.purpose8institute.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and even TikTok. If you would like to learn more about purpose beyond this podcast, Living a Life of Purpose, you can also purchase one of my books that are available on my website, purpose8institute.com, and also on Amazon.